I was recently a guest on the Bob and Brad YouTube channel to answer people's questions about their aches and pains. So I'm answering the remaining questions in this series of videos here. If you want to see what my answers were to the previous questions, just click the link below and you can visit their channel and find that out. This one is from Pa Pleb, and they write, intense pain, X-ray, shows mild degenerative changes. Answer, cortisone shot. Me, yeah, but how can I stop this from progressing to the point of debilitation? Answer, natural part of aging. So Pa Pleb has not told me what joint they're talking about, but I'm going to guess it's a hip or a knee issue. Usually these are the ones that we deal with most with degenerative joint changes. So I'm going to answer this question as if this is degenerative changes happening in the hip or the knee joint. So it sounds like this practitioner said, don't worry about it, it's a natural part of aging. And while degeneration is a natural part of aging, pain isn't necessarily a natural part of aging. So because this person has intense pain, I'm going to assume that on top of this natural aging, degenerative changes, there's a biomechanical element causing that degenerative joint to be painful. What would those be? Let's start with the hip. Well, the most common problem with causing degenerative changes in the hip joint is poor butt muscle activation. And so the butt is really important because it attaches to the thigh bone here and it controls how the thigh bone moves. It controls how it rotates in and out. It controls the tracking of it in the socket and creates a pivot point for it to work correctly. And so it also controls the pelvic orientation, the lumbar orientation, and because it controls the thigh bone internal and external rotation, it's also controlling the knee and the foot. So there's a lot going on with the hip and the butt muscle. And by the way, the foot can play up and affect the hip as well, just as easily as the hip can work down and affect the foot. So just because there are degenerative joint changes in the hip doesn't mean that the problem is in the hip. That's just where the vulnerability is expressed. So let's go back to our idea of the butt. So the butt attaches from the sacrum here to the hip joint. And when it's working properly, like I mentioned earlier, it creates a pivot point for the hip flexion to occur. When the butt isn't working well, it allows the hip bone to start sliding around in the hip socket, kind of like a washing machine that's out of balance. And it starts careening around in there, breaking down cartilage and tissues like the labrum, the cartilage, and also it can cause bursitis on the side of the hip. It can contribute to iliotibial band syndrome on the side of the hip. It can contribute to piriformis syndrome in the back of the hip. It can contribute to groin pain in the front of the hip because this bone is migrating forward because the butt isn't working, and it starts pinching tissues in the front of the hip as well. So there's a whole bunch going on here about if the butt isn't working well. And frankly, most people with degenerative changes in either the hip or the knee it's due to the fact that the butt isn't working well, in my opinion. And I want to stress this, that I focus on helping people with chronic pain, and I do that in a different way by focusing on how the whole system is working together rather than isolating a tissue. So isolating tissues is good for acute pain problems, but I'm going to guess that this person is dealing with a chronic pain problem. When we have chronic pain, meaning pain lasting more than 3 months, we're usually dealing with a breakdown in how that person is using their body for one reason or another. Usually it comes down to old injuries or habits or things like that. Okay, so riffing on this theme, so why would the butt not be working correctly here? And in most cases, I would say over 90% of the cases, it's because of walking patterns that are turning off the butt and instead of causing the butt to turn on. So what do I mean by that? Well, when we walk, our butt should be turning on with every foot strike. How can you determine that? Well, it's simple. you just put your hands on your butt cheeks, go ahead and pinch them both together, and you'll feel that that's a maximum contraction of your butt. Now relax your butt and just take 10 or 20 steps around the room and see if you feel any of that contraction happening at all. Most of you with chronic pain in the hip, knee, or even back, or SI joint pain or sciatic pain will find that, oh, yeah, I don't really feel my butt working at all. Right. And so this is likely a major contributor to your chronic pain. In this person's case, their degenerative changes and their intense pain that's supposedly being ascribed to those degenerative changes. I think it's interesting that the degenerative changes in this person's joints are mild, yet they describe their pain as intense. Well, that certainly doesn't match up. So something else is going on here, which is why I'm going into all this detail about the butt. All right. So how do we get the butt then to turn on? If you found taking those 10 or 20 steps and walked around and found that it's not really working, so the easiest way I have found is if your hands are still on your butt cheeks, go ahead and go up on your tippy toes and just walk around on your tippy toes for 10 or 15 steps, and you'll feel that every step on your tippy toes, oh yeah, I can feel something happening in my butt. My butt is becoming a little bit firmer. Now that firmness should feel like it's about 5 to 10% of your maximum contraction that you just felt when you squeeze your butt cheeks together. It's not going to be 100% contraction. You don't need 100% contraction of that butt to work properly. All you need is a little bit, like 5 or 10%, and you should feel that on your tippy toes while you're walking around. Now all you do is you just slowly lower the heels down after tippy toe walking, and you should feel for at least 5 or 10 more steps that your butt is continuing to turn on again, or continuing to turn on after your heels have come down. Why is your butt turning on with tiptoe walking when it's not turning on with your regular walking? And here's the problem. Most people, when they walk, they lead with their foot and they heel strike. Once that heel strikes out in front of them like that, the knee then goes into this locked position that then turns off the butt muscle. And then the body follows over that foot. That's the wrong sequence. The body should be advancing with the foot, and when the body advances with the foot, the knee is automatically softened, which keeps the butt turned on. And if you'll notice, if you explore this a little bit more and just walk around normally feeling that your butt is not turned on and then go up on tippy toes, you'll notice that, oh yeah, my knee is softer and my body is moving forward with that advancing foot. In fact, it's impossible to walk on your tippy toes without your body moving forward with the advancing foot. So the tiptoe walking is fixing the gait mechanics that are turning off your butt. So the way you want to work with this is if you walk around the block and periodically check to see if your butt's working, anytime you feel it's not working or anytime you're feeling that intense pain, go up on the tippy toe walk and walk for 10 or 20 steps and see if that pain decreases. If it's in the hip or knee, likely it will decrease simply by going up on your tippy toes. Why would the tippy toe walking be helping this? Because it's turning on the butt, which is then able to control the hip joint tracking and the thigh bone rotation that's causing the knee to twist unnaturally. If you want to explore this more, if this sounds like it makes sense to you, I've written a book recently called Pain Patterns. I've just won a national award for it. And the second half of that book is a workbook to help you understand the larger issues like your gait pattern that are causing most chronic pain. And the book primarily deals with back, SI joint, sciatic, hip, knee issues, things like that. But there is one test I do there for neck pain and headaches as well that most people miss. So I would encourage you to get that book to explore other things that are happening in your body that you aren't aware of, that you haven't been told about, that are likely contributing to this breakdown and pain in your hip or your knee. If you like this kind of information and have questions about your own pain, please feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to make a video to help you out. Otherwise, feel free to subscribe, like, and share this video.